that is just, I don't know. I think my desire was very different when I was starting into the self inquiry and all this. I think I took it to like some type of study, you know,
Mhm.
uh, kind of like Christianity because we were raised Christians, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
and I went into my Judaism and all this and Kabbalah and mysticism and Gnosticism and I think I got into all this concepts of all different types, right? Reading this and that, and
Yeah.
you kind of deviate, from who you truly are. And when I come to these teachings now about self-inquiring your true nature,
Hmm.
it's different. It's been there always. It's just
Hmm.
we miss it. We miss it. We miss who we are. Every we kind of like are hindered into a world of illusion.
Hmm.
Right? And you play the game, like you described to me in the questions that we've gone over.
Hmm.
uh, you're just kind of like playing that role of Osvaldo, and you're just kind of like going with the flow, but
Yeah.
really you're not, so
Yeah. 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 Sometimes we have to travel really far to come back to come back
yeah.
home. Sometimes that's a process. We have to explore whatever. Sometimes some people explore science. Some people explore the world. They go and they explore jobs and positions and family and it all is a form of exploration. Even when we're going seemingly out, even when we're exploring different religions, it's as if we're going out. But in fact, it's some energy that need to sort of be consumed to be sort of like dissolved until you come to rest. Yeah, maybe sometimes you get exhausted from chasing things, and then you sort of settle into just being more present, and then you're more ready. You're ready to hear the message.
Hmm. Yeah, because at certain times I would feel very anxious, very I would even go into panic attacks, and I think I blame that on Christianity in some way because of the, apocalyptic prophecies and all this type of thing. In the future time, this will happen, and this and that, and you read that book of Revelation, and I was very like, into prophecy, and so I developed what is anxiety. I started feeling sick,
Yeah,
and because of the judgment day coming and the antichrist and all this,
right.
and I became very sick, depressed, and I suffered for many years of that. Like about 10 years.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Finally, now I know it's within me. Now I just see they're just thoughts. I don't engage with them. I feel peace. I feel calm. I'm just happy. I mean, beyond happiness, and on all these, thoughts come, and I just don't engage with them. I do not just. I just kind of, I just like, well, okay, it's just like the clouds floating by. It's there. But
Yeah.
I don't have. I don't have to listen to them.
Right. The main thought, as you know, as you probably well know, Osvaldo, is the thought that triggers this, the me. It's like the I thought. That's really the
Yeah.
main. Uh,
And
uh,
you were talking about this morning about that, right? The I thought I was reading your posts on Facebook,
right.
and you were specifying that I thought that some way you engage that when you come into this, or some way makes it feel so real, huh? That I thought.
Yeah, yeah. Like whenever, I mean, at some point, in our spiritual maturing, uh, there is there is like a choice that becomes available to us. In other words, we become so sensitized to the I thought and also to the feeling of the me feeling that we can no longer ignore it. It sort of arises and it's noticed. And at that point, at the point where the I thought is noticed, or the contraction in the body is noticed, there is a choice to sort of follow it, meaning believe it. In other words, feel, continue with the feeling of me, or go to the inquiry, go to the questioning. Wait a minute, am I actually, am I really a limited entity? Am I really a limited consciousness? Am I really this body, mind? So there is this this window that becomes available to you. And so in my post, I was pointing to that moment of choice where we might think of ourselves as a truth, as a truth lover, but yet in our behavior we continue to wallow, we continue to to feed, and we continue the I conversation, the me conversation. And it's a choice we make to go in that direction. And at some point, it becomes available to us to say, wait a minute, no, no, I'm, I perceive, I'm perceiving this feeling, this emotion, this sensation.
Yes.
And the I that is perceiving this sensation is not defined by the sensation. It's not defined by the thought that says, I'm bad or I'm good, whatever the thought says. So there is that choice that becomes available to us. And the more we go to the presence, the more we say, wait a minute, no, I've seen that, what is it, been there, done that. I have been
Mm-hmm.
there, done that, and I know what a dead end alley it is. And at that point, we are already in the presence, in the intelligence, in the wisdom. And that's an important hinge. It's an important shifting point from going deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole, or abiding as the presence that we are. So among all the thoughts that are floating around, which really there is an innocence to thought in a way. It's thought is innocent, but the I thought attempts to define you.
Mm-hmm.
And more than the I thought, as you know, Osvaldo,
Mm-hmm.
feeling that, God, how dare we do that to me? Or why is this happening to me? Or when will I be free from that feeling? Even that very thought, this need to be free, although that is inspired from freedom itself. In other words, there is a divine inspiration.
Yeah, because the I thought is like a more personal, I think, no, and
Yes, right, right,
made it more personalized, you know, and
right. Now there is like an it's an I thought that looks like an I thought, but it has a blessing, like the desire for freedom, the desire for happiness, the desire for bliss.
mm-hmm.
That from from one point of view might seem to be a personal thought, like might seem to be an I thought, but in fact it is a thought that comes from the beyond. It comes from consciousness. It comes from our freedom. So it's like our freedom, or the truth is calling us back to itself, which is to ourselves. So that is that thought, the thought of liberation. That is a higher thought. It's a thought that comes from the divine.
Okay.
So at some point, the the I thought and the me feeling start to become transparent, meaning they become soaked with the presence. They become soaked with the stillness that permeates them. And so the experience shifts from an I thought or a me feeling that is real to just a, a non-personal, sort of like an objective, phenomenal experience that does not have this pull to it. And that's a very interesting shift. When this shift starts happening and you start noticing it, then it's really
Mm-hmm.
important to stay with that. Very important to sort of see that the the quality of the I thought and of the me sensation is not as concrete, is not as real as it it seems to be to the mind. So it's as if
Mm-hmm.
your perception is no longer a perception that's coming from the mind, but it's a perception that is coming from beyond, and that's
Yeah.
shining shining the light of consciousness onto whatever is arising. And the experience of that is an experience of peace and tranquility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you can be active in the world, active in relationships, active in your world, but the, the peace permeates all the activities. And so there isn't a pursuit in the world. There is an interest and sort of a fascination and a sense of play, like when we are children and we play in the sandbox. It's a lot of fun, and there is an excitement about the play, but there isn't an angst or a sense of lack or pursuing a worldly event that will deliver us happiness. In other words, there is like a realization that I am the happiness already that is sort of playing in the field, that's celebrating the joy, celebrating the happiness, celebrating the freedom, celebrating the creativity, celebrating the intelligence. And this celebration is a very joyous celebration, and it's not personal. It, in a way, it's open to everyone and to everything,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't have a like judgment in it. It doesn't have resistance in it, but it's intelligent, meaning it can discern uh, what directions are the happy directions, what directions are the joyful, are the peaceful direction. In other words, you will not put on your Sunday shoes and go walk in the mud. You will not engage in relationships where, for example, you know that you get sort of some kind of insight that certain relationships just are not, they're not happy. In other words, there is intelligence that is operating in the world, and that intelligence is not a personal intelligence. It's a divine intelligence. It's an intelligence that's sort of, it's a universal intelligence that we all share, we all express in our lives. It's there. It's just available like the like the air is available to the body, to the breathing, like sunlight is available. That's an important point because sometimes people tell me, oh, then if you love everything, then you're going to, somebody comes, if an elephant comes charging you in the street, you're not going to move, you're going to just stay and get trampled. I like the story. I think I wrote it once on Facebook of this monk who used to pray to God all the time. God, I love you and I believe in you, and uh, all I love is you, and I'm just totally in love with you, and I just listen to you and nothing else. So he's walking in the street, and there is an elephant running uh, down the street, uh, and the rider of the elephant is yelling, "Get out of the way! Get out of the way!" But the man says, "No, I'm going to wait for God. God is going to tell me what to do." So he stays there, and the elephant tramples him and kills him. So then he tells God, "My God, I loved you, and I've done everything for you, and here I am in the street, and you send this elephant to, they killed me." And God tells him, "I was telling you to get out of the way." Listen, so, it's like, anyway. So there is intelligence that's available to us, and so when there is a relationship that's very unhealthy, of course, you approach it with all the love that's possible, but at some point it becomes clear, wait, that's not, that is not where I need to be, and so you move on.
Yeah. I think everything comes. What you said about perception or perceiving is what has been in some way memorized. No, I mean you kind of perceive it that way. I mean, even though if you want to give a title to it or something, I'm not sure if
Yeah.
I'm making sense.
No, no, I see what you are saying as well. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you
So
know,
I make a distinction between pure. I used to use that term, like pure perception, where before even the mind gets into the picture and interprets, there is there is a complete intimacy of the experience before the interpretation of the mind. And this intimacy of experience is not something that we choose to do. It is sort of the nature. It's the nature of experience. So experience at the onset, before the mind gets into the picture and interprets it, has a complete transparency and complete wholeness and purity to it. And it does not have any thought in it. Now,
Can we call it a virgin state?
can we call it what?
Can we call it the virgin state or
Yeah,
the
yeah,
pure
yeah,
state?
yeah, yeah. We could. Yeah, that sounds. It sounds good. But I just want to make a note that, you know, I am sharing that, but there is no judgment whatsoever. I'm just basically, I'm in what I'm sharing with you. I am not sharing anything to be better than anything else. I am just,
Yeah.
I'm just sharing, uh, my understanding. If you don't mind, Osvaldo, one moment. I think that I just want to read this message from a couple of people that are interested. Do you mind giving me one moment, please?
Go ahead. Go right ahead.
Thank you.
You're
Uh,
welcome.
okay, I just wanted to sort of read this. Okay, okay, that's just a comment from Tom and from Dolores. Hi, Tom and Dolores. Yeah, they're watching on at work. Oh, hey, Tom and Dolores. Hello. Nice. Hello. If you have any questions, Tom and Dolores, please use the chat box, and I will be happy to address your question. So coming back, Osvaldo, to experience, to perception. So uh, before even when you look at a tree, before even the mind says this is a tree, there is what you refer to as the version experience, the version perception. And this version perception is void, completely void of any mind.
Hmm.
And it's happening 24/7. It's uninterrupted. But
Hmm.
but the mind isn't there. And because the mind isn't there, the mind says it's not happening. You follow?
Yes, yes, yes.
The mind is the interpretive. The mind says, oh, this is a tree. This is an oak tree. Oh, this is an oak tree in the spring. You see? Which is okay. I mean, that's just what the mind does. And in no way am I trying to say that this is a bad thing. I'm just sort of describing, what the mind does. But the point that is very interesting about what we're referring to, what you mentioned as the version perception, is that there is a perception that is completely void of mind. And this perception is going on 24/7. In other words, it is eternal. It is not on and off. It's ongoing without any interruption. And this very experience, version, version perception, is what is referred to as consciousness. Is what is referred to as the truth. In other words, there is something true to our experience. We cannot deny our experience. There is a truth to our experience. And the truth of our experience, because it is the truth, is never interrupted. Because truth is not true in the morning and less true in the evening. It is true across the board. It's eternally true. So what is true across the board, and what is false is never true. Is never true. I don't know. I don't know if you're following. So consciousness, which is before the mind interprets anything, is true eternally. It's eternally true. even when the senses are not being used. For example, in deep sleep, consciousness remains true, like the sky. When the sky is totally void of any clouds, it remains the sky. When the screen is totally without any images, it remains the screen. What I'm talking about, Osvaldo, is the presence or awareness that right here, right now, is hearing these words. I am not talking about the concept.
It's hearing itself.
It hears itself. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes. It perceives itself. Because what's really fascinating about perception, if you take the example of perception, Osvaldo, you will notice that the perceived, whatever it is that you are perceiving, is actually made out of your perception.
It's what you're conceiving.
I'm sorry?
You're perceiving for that which you're conceiving in some way.
Yeah, you could say that, yes. Right, yeah. You're perceiving the mind, but the point that I wanted to say is that the you're perceiving your perception, and your perception is intimately made out of yourself. So your conception, as you said, your conception is you. It's like when you are dreaming and you're conceiving of a pink elephant. The pink elephant is made out of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're perceiving your conception, as you said, and your conception, which is your perception, is made out of yourself. This yourself is what we refer to as consciousness. What this very moment, this perception, before we call it the screen, or it doesn't matter what we call it, this perception,
Mm-hmm.
experience, is made out of yourself. There is a reality to this perception, and the reality of this perception is consciousness. Is the consciousness that gives this perception its reality. I like to say that consciousness takes on the form of a perception, or consciousness takes on the form of a conception.
Mm-hmm.
Like water takes on the form of steam, you know, or it takes on or the cloud takes on the form of a dragon, or the cloud takes on the form of an angel. There is this complete intimacy of consciousness, where it's experiencing itself as a form, but the form isn't an external material reality. The reality of the form is made out of the reality of consciousness. That's a very fascinating uh, uh,
Yeah.
discovery, that you, meaning you as consciousness, you are the world, you are the world, body, mind. You know, the non-dual perception. The
Mm-hmm.
non-dual perception is this experience of beingness, where I, as consciousness, am the substance of all, the only substance. I am the only reality, and everything that is experienced is made out of this reality, which is the reality of consciousness. So that's a very fascinating thing about the version, or let's say the version perception. And then there is the I thought that basically arises, that says, no, this consciousness is limited to this body mind. Well, this consciousness is limited to a certain form, and moves from form to form or something like that. It depends. There are many different beliefs. It depends on the culture, but it's a thought that arises that tries to define consciousness and limit it. But nothing defines consciousness, or nothing can truly define consciousness, because consciousness is the ultimate um, reality. It is the, let's say, it's the ultimate perceiver, if you want to use that term.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the ultimate perceiver, nothing can perceive it to be able to sort of describe it, or to talk about, about it, or measure it, or try to, describe it as any form, as inhabiting any body mind. That's just a thought. So I often invite people, when a thought arises about the I thought, about consciousness being limited, being personal, ask yourself, what is it that perceives this thought?
Mm-hmm. Or yeah, yeah.
When you come to that question, the mind comes to the stillness.
Mm-hmm.
When the mind comes to the stillness, then
It's like it's stopping in its tracks. That's what you do with that question.
yeah, the question dissolves in the presence.
Yeah, yeah,
It loses it loses its the question loses itself.
yeah. Because in some way you try to understand it intellectually, and when you ask that question, who's perceiving the thought, you know, you're trying to figure out intellectually, or mind tries to, you know,
Yeah,
understand, or trying to, seek that one,
right.
that
Yeah.
perceive.
So, but as well, the question, what is it that perceives this thought?
Hmm.
Very important to look at this question not from the intellect, not from the intellect only, to sort of really go to live the question in a way, in, to 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 be the question, not not to ask the question intellectually, who is it that perceives this perception, but
It's
to,
the invisible hand, right?
I'm sorry.
The mind would probably say, it's the invisible man.
Right. So, I mean, another way of looking at this question, if this question is posed with one condition, the condition is not to accept any answer from the mind.
True.
So, not to accept any answer that is coming from time, not to accept any answer that is coming from the past. So you have to sort of look at the question, but make sure you don't accept any answer that is from your uh, file cabinet. Don't take an answer from your file cabinet. You have to look freshly at this question with your entire being. If the I thought arises that says, I am this body mind, I am Magdi, I am Osvaldo, I am a man, I am a woman, what is it that perceives this thought? If a sensation arises, I am not smart, okay, or I am stupid, what is it that perceives this sensation?
Hmm.
If a feeling of sadness arises, there is no judgment. I am not making any judgment about any of this. I'm just doing a contemplation, an experiment. So
Yes, yes.
when a feeling of depression or sadness arises, ask yourself, what is it that perceives this sensation? What is it that perceives this feeling? What is it that knows it? But without taking any answer from the past. Because we're not just trying to have an intellectual discourse with ourselves just to play solitaire. You know, we're not trying to play solitaire with ourselves. We're not just trying to kill time. We are trying to really realize our freedom, realize the truth. We are exploring the core questions in our life that can free us from the shadow of ignorance. So, you know, in the Zen, the Buddhist Zen tradition, they have the koan study where they give the student a question. The teacher gives the student a question, but never accepts an answer from the student that comes from the mind. The question has to be lived, so you can answer the question to yourself, you know, but not from your storage bin.
Yeah.
So there is a much bigger than the I thought, Osvaldo, is the sense of me. You know, the sense of me that is at the body level. At the body level, we experience this limitation, this contraction, this sense of me, and that at the body level, there is also an investigation that is important. And the investigation has two um, channels to it. First, you ask yourself when a sensation, a me sensation arises, you ask yourself, what is it that perceives this sensation? Which we were talking about a minute ago.
Hmm.
That's one of the channels. You go from the sensation to whatever it is that perceives it. Yeah? Bring the question, move the energy in a way to the, the field rather than to the hologram, rather than to what is appearing. That is one of the channels of the exploration of the sensations at the body level. The other direction is whenever a sensation arises, and these sensations arise in the body, or any sensation for that matter, to go behind it, to go below it, to go beneath it at the feeling level. not at the mental level, at the feeling level, to go to the wider space, which is available. Space is eternally available. It's nothing limits space. But to go below, to experientially go beneath, behind, below the sensation, and allow the sensation to relax and to dissolve in the space that surrounds it. That's a practice that you can do on your own, uh, and there is no wrong way of doing it. It's an exploration that basically invites the contraction to release in the vastness of our being. That's a very powerful practice, and it relaxes the contraction, the sensation, the bodily sensation, and allows it, gives it room, gives it all the room to, I was going to say to dissolve, to flow, to dissolve, to move. So there is the exploration, the mental exploration about our belief systems, our assumptions, our unexamined assumptions, the me thoughts, the belief that I am born, that I am a man, and then there is exploration at the feeling level.
Okay.
And it's very important to, along the way, not to settle, not to, what is the expression, not to deal yourself short. Am I saying it right? Not to cut yourself short. Well, anyways, there is an expression. It's really important not to go. It's important to go all the way with this.
Mm-hmm.
To not to settle too soon. Not to set your camp at the first peak you arrive. You have to go to the top of the mountain. I'm just using a metaphor.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. And the top of the mountain is a peace and a happiness. Is the causeless, unwavering, complete certainty.
Okay.
And you know it. You will not need anybody to tell it to you. You will know it. And in some cases, in many cases, your teacher will help you to finish it up.
Um, as this identity, uh, you know, as the entity you you become in the illusion world. Um, is there a thing called ego?
I'm sorry, Osvaldo. Excuse me. I got a little distracted. I hope you don't mind.
That's fine.
Okay. Okay. One moment, if you don't mind. I'm sorry. Uh, okay. Okay.
If you gotta attend some questions, that's fine, Magdi.
Yes.
That's
Well,
fine.
uh, oh, if you don't mind as well, can you hold your question and remember it? I'll come back to it one moment. I just want to make sure that I am not ignoring uh, this little note that Lynn
Go
just.
ahead.
Yes,
Go ahead.
Lynn
Yes.
said,
Yes.
"I am remembering an oak tree, and I'm not really seeing it as it is now." How do you know this? I am remembering an oak tree, not really seeing it as it is. You know, Lynn, when you are remembering an oak tree, you are having a very real experience of an image, a thought image, which we refer to as memory, which is perfect. It's a fresh, new image, fresh, new memory, let's call it. But it's really not, there is no, you never experience anything in the past. There is, there is no such thing as experiencing something in the past. So you never experience a tree that you've seen yesterday. Your experience is always now. It's it's always in the absence of time. Your experience is in the absence of time. You never experience time. There is a thought that says, yeah, I am experiencing time or I live in time, but your experience of that thought is not in time. Actually, you never experience a thought. It's like, let's take, for example, a movie. You know, when you go to a movie, you see a horse running, but in fact, the movie is made of uh, maybe 200 still frames, and every frame is like a fixed frame. But when you run them very quickly, one next to the other, it looks like as if a horse is running. So you never experience a horse running. It seems as if the mind perceives a horse running, but experience is not in time. But coming back to your question, you never experience a tree in the past. So you never experience a memory. There is no reality to a memory, because a memory says like, oh, well, you're experiencing something that you've experienced before. How can you experience something before if you are now? I hope I am being clear. I am sorry I read your question too late and you already left the group chat, but hopefully you can listen to the recording and you can send me any messages if I am not being clear about your question. So you're always seeing, actually you're not seeing a tree. I mean, the mind sees a tree, but you don't see a tree. You never experience a tree. Consciousness is always experiencing itself. which is the experience of peace, what we refer to as the screen. The screen is like, you can say, is the peace and the tranquility. And the tree is like an image appearing on the screen. It appears in the space, what is referred to as consciousness. I sometimes speak of awareness or presence. So a tree is an image that appears in awareness, in presence. It's made of, its substance is awareness, is consciousness. That what you are, what you hear is these words. Anyways, if again, if I was unclear, you can ask me again in Osvaldo, there is one more question, if I can answer it. Uh, Frank B. Ask a question. Don't all religions strive to keep the moral law? Oh, so it's a question about morality and religion. Okay, Frank, morality doesn't come from a religion. Morality comes from truth. It comes from reality. I am not talking about social conventions. I'm talking about the true morality, true ethics. Does not come from the mind, does not come from the human dimension. It comes from the divine dimension. So religions do not keep the moral law. Maybe they try to keep the moral law, but the moral law is dictated by consciousness, and we know it. We know it in our being because we are this consciousness. We don't need anybody to explain to us what is right and wrong. We all know that killing or wrong or stealing or cheating is not the path of happiness. We know that before even we read the legal code. Before even we go to church or before we go to the mosque, we know that. Ask yourself, how do we know that? We don't know that because our mother and our father told us that. We know that deep down in our heart. So that deep down in our heart is consciousness. What we truly are is deep down in our heart. Okay, there is another question, but I will address it later. If there is any question, now, Osvaldo or Gonzalo? Hello.
It's very clear, Magdi.
Yes, I'm sorry, Osvaldo.
I think that what you're pointing at is very clear. Just probably a process that everything like just being our first nature and not our second nature.
Yes.
Because the conditioning has taken such a long time to be there and to make this belief of a separate being who is capable of doing and by itself, probably with a really personal consciousness, whatever we see. But once it is questioned, it's starts to become clear that that's impossible. That that's like that it cannot be like that. I mean, how can, for example, two human beings communicate so well if they are separate consciousness?
Right, right, right. Exactly. Just in order to communicate, as you so well say, Gonzalo, that in itself establishes the that shared consciousness. Yes. How could we
So
understand each other, or even hear each other, or even perceive each other, if there isn't a commonality?
right, and your pointing is good in the sense that it's not something that we have to do one time and then stop because the conditioning is so hard that it will come and come again, trying to make the belief that we are separate beings with a specific personal consciousness. So it has to continue, but isn't it part of the same process to go and go and go and go until it is finished?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, it, I mean, grace, somehow grace comes and knocks on our door. And when grace knocks on our door and invites us to come and look and listen, and and invites us to the party, invites us to the feast, invites us to wake up, that's that's a momentous invitation. You know, it's
Like once once a doubt is there, doubt by itself it works. Strange, I don't listen to what happens.